Whenever we engage in any form of interaction, it is not just our oral facilities at work. Even our body has a language of its own. All of us are receptive to these forms of communication. While it is easy to think of communication as simply the verbal transmission of information from one person to another, it is so much more than that. Let's take an in-depth look at all the ways that we communicate with each other. Whenever we engage in any form of interaction, it is not just our oral facilities at work. Even our body has a language of its own. All of us are receptive to these forms of communication. While it is easy to think of communication as simply the verbal transmission of information from one person to another, it is so much more than that. Let's take an in-depth look at all the ways that we communicate with each other. People communicate with each other in a number of ways that depend upon the message and its context. Choice of communication channel and the style of communicating also affects communication. There are a variety of types of communication, and these are based on the communication channels used and the purpose and style. The two types of communication based on channels are the verbal and nonverbal communication. These two often work together to convey a complete message. Verbal communication includes spoken or written language. The message is mostly relayed through speech or with the use of voice. When we speak, we are also using pitch and tone, as well as the level of formality we use to convey important subtext to the person we are speaking with. Verbal communication can be a simple conversation between friends, a meeting with your colleagues, or a speech delivered by the president. It can be formal and informal. It is a powerful tool that allows input from every element of the social communication model and makes an immediate impact. Verbal communication is further divided into oral communication, written communication, visual communication, and media communication. In oral communication, spoken words are used. Communication is influenced by pitch, volume, speed, and clarity of speaking. This type is used for various purposes in our daily life, and it can range from meetings to discussions, face-to-face conversations, speeches, telephone conversations, and so on. It has always been the most convenient method of communication because it is faster and easier. It brings quick feedback. In a face-to-face conversation, by reading facial expression and body language, one can guess whether he or she should trust what's being said or not. In written communication, written signs or symbols are used to communicate. A written message may be printed or handwritten. It is the most common form of communication being used in business. So, it is considered core among business skills. An advantage of written communication is that messages can be edited and revised many times before they are actually sent. It enables the receiver to fully understand and send appropriate feedback. However, unlike oral communication, written communication doesn't bring instant feedback. It takes more time in composing a written message as compared to word of mouth, and a lot of people struggle for writing ability. Visual communication is the use of graphics to represent information for the purpose of communication. It is mainly used to add more meaning to the information communicated. Some common types of visual communication are social media graphics, infographics, billboards, flowcharts, presentations, mind maps, roadmaps, and diagrams. Visual communication helps us to communicate difficult to understand concepts. Sometimes words alone do not express vital information to make a message clearly understood. Often, visuals create a more engaging experience for viewers. Media communication is inherently multimodal communication. This means that language in written and spoken form is one of several modes available for expressing a potential of meanings. For instance, in print media, layout and images are available in addition to the written word. In radio, language is present in its spoken form, alongside music and different sounds. For television, all the aforementioned modes can be drawn upon in a context in which the moving image holds a central position. We live in the world of media. Televisions are running 24/7. Social media sites come with memes, videos, images. Internet explores a lot of multimedia platforms, and advertisers uses multimedia to sell products and ideas. What we do while we speak often says more than the actual words. Nonverbal communication includes facial expressions, posture, eye contact, hand movements, and touch. Your nonverbal communication cues, the way you listen, look, move, and react, tell the person you're communicating with whether or not you care, if you're being truthful, and how well you're listening. When your nonverbal signals match up with the words you're saying, they increase trust, clarity, and rapport. When they don't, they can generate tension, mistrust, and confusion. Based on style and purpose, there are two main categories of communication, and these are the formal and informal communication. In formal communication, certain rules, conventions, and principles are followed while communicating the message. It occurs in formal and official style. Usually, professional settings, corporate meetings, conferences undergoes informal pattern. The use of slang and foul language is avoided and correct pronunciation is required. Authority lines are needed to be followed in formal communication. On the other hand, informal communication is casual talk. It is established for societal affiliations of members in an organization and face-to-face discussions. It happens among friends and family. The use of slang words, foul language is not restricted. Informal communication doesn't follow authority lines. It helps in building relationships. We communicate continually throughout each and every day. We do it without thinking. We operate on communication autopilot. However, I encourage you to think about how you communicate. It's important to know and understand all types of communication so that you can learn to use them effectively and become a great communicator.